all of this over with some people who are part of the best political team on television. We have with us Hugh Hewitt, Van Jones, and Patty Solis Doyle. Patty, let me start with you. First of all, what do you think Hillary needs to do tomorrow? Is it really just kind of a first do no harm type thing, or does she need to aggressively make the case if she gets attacked?
She needs to do a few things. First of all, let me just say right off the bat, she's an excellent debater. She knows these issues backwards, forwards, sideways. But she's going to get attacked. We just saw that Bernie Sanders is going to go after her on the consistency on some of these issues. I imagine Martin O'Malley's going to do that too. She needs to come prepared for answers on TPP, on Keystone, and coming in late on those issues. And I think she needs to show some humor, a light side of Hillary Clinton. She's done arguably some of the best moments on her campaign thus far have been on Saturday Night Live and Jimmy Fallon, and I think she needs to have some light moments.
Van, you saw in Brianna's piece Bernie Sanders' abysmal numbers with African-American voters in South Carolina. Obviously, that's the fourth contest, I guess, but still, it speaks to a larger weakness of his. We just heard that Congressman Keith Ellison, who's a major, he's from Minnesota, a major progressive voice, is endorsing him. Will that make a difference?
It might make a difference. Keith Ellison is incredibly well respected. He's African-American. He's one of the few Muslims in Congress, and he's very, very outspoken. He's a leading indicator. A lot of people will take Sanders more seriously because of Keith. But I think this whole party has a problem. This is the whitest field that we have seen since 1992. There's no Sharpton, there's no Carol Moseley, there's no non-white people there. And this is a party that has to get not 60%, not 70%, not 90%, but 94% of the black vote to win. This is a big problem for the whole party. The Clintons get the black vote by default, but nobody has made a case yet that they can do better. If Biden gets in, he might be able to make that case, but Bernie Sanders has so much room to grow with the black vote. He should take the opportunity tomorrow to make his case why a white guy from Vermont should get the support of a party with that much black participation.
Hugh Hewitt, if you were advising Bernie Sanders or Martin O'Malley, a very unlikely scenario, but if that were to happen, how would you advise to go after Hillary Clinton, whom you've been critical of for a long time? How would you advise to do it in such a way that you don't risk coming across as a mean guy beating up on, a trailblazer?
Well, I'd do two things. One, I'd bring up the Russian reset button because I believe that is the most vulnerable part of her catastrophic tenure at the Department of State. And Secretary Clinton can also be counted on to try and avoid the Libyan fiasco. But I'd also try and get Jim Webb into the conversation. You used an extended boxing analogy earlier. Jim Webb actually is a famous boxer. He lost a three-round match with Oliver North in 1967 at the Naval Academy, one that he thought was stacked against him and one about which he has been bitter for 40 years. So I would try and get him on foreign policy especially, because he is very critical of the former Secretary of State's foreign policy. So I would try and throw the ball to Webb to do the body work on the former Secretary of State rather than yourself, because there's no upside in going down.
Now, Patty, you talked about how you think Secretary Clinton's going to face challenges from O'Malley and Sanders on the consistency issue. And the point of fact is that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton were part of the Democratic Leadership Council, the idea that Democrats should be more moderate. That was how Democrats were in the 90s. And now the Democratic Party has shifted to the left. There are more people calling themselves liberals, and she's trying to shift with it. Isn't the consistency charge fair?
Look, I think she faces some trust problems, without question. She had a really abysmal summer. She was hit hard by the email controversy, and she's going to have to face these questions in the debate. But in fairness, on TPP, for example, it's been 2.5 years since she's been a part of the negotiations on that deal. The deal changed. So, yes, she did a flip-flop on it. She did reverse herself. But she's got her reasons, and she's going to explain them on the debate stage.
Quick button.
She has a problem on the personality side. When she tries to be more authentic, who she authentically is a moderate hawk. So when she tries to get right on the personal relatability side, she hurts herself on the policy side. When she tries to get right on the policy side by following the rest of the party on trade and other stuff, she seems less authentic. So right now she's trapped between trying to improve her personal relatability and then trying to move on policy. It's tough. She can do it, but it's tough.
All right. I have to leave it there. Patty Solis Doyle, Van Jones, Hugh Hewitt, thanks one and all for being here. Really appreciate it.